With a quarter of the year gone, it is officially time to panic. Not really. Still have 9 months left in the year. Though, who knows what'll happen those 9 months because it's been crazy. Let's talk about April. Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Pete, and this is the Ponderings of Pete. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new here, feel free to, leave a like, subscribe, a comment, turn the bell notification on for notifications if you, for some odd reason, feel like you need to see more of me. If you are coming back, thank you so much. Similarly, like, comment. I'm assuming you're probably subscribed. But thank you for coming back. You are much appreciated. So this is my April TBR because April is here all of a sudden, which is wild. If you have books that you're excited about in April, let me know down in the comments and we'll talk about them. Without further ado, since that seems to be what people say, and what I say now, I guess, let's talk about April. So for the first one, I'm going to go with one that's a continuation, and that is Infinite Jest. I was going to try to finish it last month, but that did not happen. I'm actually only about 300 pages in because I've not been reading it that much. But that is changing. I've started trying to read it a little bit more steadily over the week and the weekends just to get this done. Hopefully I can get that done this month. It's pushing back some other stuff. I don't think I'll be able to get to another weird book this month, sadly. I think I was supposed to do a buddy read this month with something involving like either House of Leaves or Book of Jacob. I can't remember. I didn't write it down, which is the issue. Yeah, Infinite Jest. Really, it's a really heavy book mentally as well because of the heavy themes of addiction and some other stuff that are going on in this book. So it definitely is one of those books that's tough to get through, especially just because David Foster Wallace is so freaking weird. But, that's all right. Journey before destination, right? The next one I am going to talk about is Kellanevad's Reach by none other than Ian C. Esselmont. This is the third book in the current final book, but that'll be changing soon, of the Path to Ascendancy trilogy. I enjoyed Deadhouse Gates a lot more, and I'll talk about that during my wrap-up. But I did finish it in March, so now it's time to get on to the next one and learn more about Kellaneved and, Dancer and seeing where they're going. And this whole crazy, wild ride that they're on. Next up, we have something of a return of a favorite, for me at least. I need to get back into it, and that is Deadly Assessments by Drew Hayes. This is the fifth book in the Fred the Vampire Accountant series. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, it's a really funny book about an accountant that gets turned into a vampire and just is disappointed by the fact that he didn't magically become all knock, drop, dead, gorgeous, and basically thinks that the premise is like, oh yeah, so all of Hollywood lied to me, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. So he becomes an accountant for other superhumans. Parahumans, that's the word. Really funny series, definitely would recommend it. Lots of accounting jokes, but they're not like in-depth accounting jokes, so they're very surface level accounting jokes. So the vast majority of the audience, I think, if you have a basic understanding of either accounting or of, not even a basic understanding of accounting, but really basic understanding of business, which is even a step above, you could probably understand a lot of the jokes. Though there will be some that will probably pass you by. There's a few. And he's a tax accountant, and everybody can relate to tax accountants to some extent because everybody does their taxes. So it's a lot easier to relate than if you were doing, he was an audit accountant, which would be completely different. Anyways, Fred the Vampire Accountant. What's next? Let's talk about Tyrants Law by Daniel Abraham. Third book, Dagger and Coin trilogy. I did a review of the first book, Dragon's Path, and yeah, I love it. It's great. I finished up the second one last month, and I loved it, and I'm continuing on with it. 3 books left, 5-book series. I feel like the characters definitely started coming out of their shells a lot more in this book, and then some of the other characters are just, coming to their own. We got a new POV in the second book that I loved, so I'm looking forward to continuing that in the Tyrants Law, especially considering the developments in King's Blood. I will have a review out for the King's Blood soon, in the next probably 2 weeks or so, because I just want to, keep talking and keep putting stuff out about this series, just because, people should read more Abraham. So this next book is going to be, I am co-hosting a buddy read with a few other people, at least this live show, probably more as well. But there's a bunch of us doing it. That is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. I don't know that much about this book, to be completely honest. Well, I know, let me rephrase that. I know a little bit about this book. It is what is referenced as silk punk, which is Asian-inspired, punky fantasy, kind of like steampunk, but more Asian-inspired. and there's a revolution, and our two main protagonists are the son of a deposed noble and a bandit. Which sounds interesting. So maybe Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham's son, after he got fired, decided to throw a revolution because I don't know. Anyways, really weird parallel. Not really a parallel, just me pulling stuff out of the air. But I will be co-hosting this buddy read on Andrew's from Andrew Wizardly Reads' Discord, the Wizardly Duo Discord, with Andrew, Nico from Nico's Book Reviews, Ian from Ian the Reader, Lana from Lore and Lullabies, and Kyle from Read by Kyle. So we will be putting a live show together on the 24th of April, I believe it is. I'll put a link, or I'll put an event up in my Discord, as well as just, pointing you guys to the Discord. There'll also be a link down below for Wizardly Reads Discord, so you guys can go join that, so you can join the buddy read there. So this is one that's been well loved around BookTube recently. Book 4 comes out this year, and I think we're going to be reading it just in time to read Book 4 after it comes out. So it comes out end of June, I believe, and we'll be reading it in July. So this is going to be fun. Definitely not your typical European fantasy, which is exciting in its own way. So this intrigues me, and talking with people about books. Next up, we have Heirs of the Blade by Adrian Tchaikovsky, Book 7 in Shadows of the App. This one was a carryover from last month. The month's not even over yet, but I know I'm not going to get to it just because I was pushed for time on some things, and other people were, I think, were off reading some of the short stories, but I couldn't get a copy, so I just pushed it off, and I had other things that occupied my time. So, Heirs of the Blade, getting to that next month. This specifically focuses around two characters that I know where they are at that are going to happen. One of them was in Scarab's Path, and the other one we haven't seen since Book 4. So it's been a hot minute since we've seen the certain character. I'm excited to get back to that character. I also think that this book might be a suitable replacement for a specific arc that happened in Book 2 that I was like, this is so short, why? So we will see. Maybe. Connecting to heritage is great. Really, really loving this series, so go check out my Shadows of the App video for the first 5 review thingamajigger if you want to know more about the Shadows of the App. Next up, I'm finishing the second book for this now. Actually, I just started, but I'll finish it before the end of the month. And that is The Last Mortal Bond by Brian Stavely. This is a book I'm reading just because it's so meh, I have to read it and analyze it, and I probably will have a review out for this entire series once I get done with it. It might be a rant review. I don't think it'll be a rant review. It'll probably just be a meh review. Why this book is so meh. Definitely starting to take a lot of notes now, which is exciting, just because I don't usually take a lot of notes on books if you can't tell. But I probably should. This book didn't go over too well with me. I just thought it was mediocre, the first book at least, when I read it 2 months ago in February. But I still decided to continue. Next up is a buddy read that will be hosted on my channel, on my Discord, and that is Ninefox Gambit by Yoon-Ha Lee. I've been really excited getting this, and I got a few other people with me that would like to read it, so come down to the Discord if you're looking to read this book. First book in the Machiners of Empire. This is what I've heard it described as slightly confusing in terms of sci-fi, because there's some heavy elements in it, but I haven't read a really heavy sci-fi in a while, so I'm been excited to give this a try, and it's pretty short, so not that much, not a huge investment. Though I have already ordered through Book 3 because I'm planning on liking it, but that has bit me in the past, and I never learned my lesson. I've been wanting to read this for a while, though, because it has some interesting things. It has some sci-fantasy elements that look really cool, specifically like undead captains coming back from the dead to help win a war against an unbreachable fortress called the Thousand Needles. Sounds pretty epic. Next up is another continuation from last month, and that is Mr. Mercedes. So I plan on getting about halfway through this book by the end of this month, because it's another book that's just been slow going for me reading it, because it's tough to read a lot of this and absorb a lot of this book at a time, just because of the heavy mental topics that it covers, specifically regarding the killer. So yeah, I'm working through it. And the one I can't say I'm most excited about this one, but I'm excited to get back to this series, and that is The Tropic of Serpents by Mary Brennan. I read book 1 last year, and I've been wanting to get to it, and I got the next 2 books for Christmas, and I'm just ecstatic because it's a great series. This is the memoir. The series is the Memoirs of Lady Trent. The first book was phenomenal. It was Jane Austen combined with Indiana Jones combined with a certain type of mystery that I can't tell you about without spoiling the plot, all with this underlying theme of for science. It was fantastic. And I'm continuing on. So, gonna read the next, I think there's a total of 5 books in a novella, maybe, or 6 books, or maybe 2 novellas, because there was a 3.5 listed on Goodreads, and I was like, what? Okay, that's interesting. So, I'm gonna be reading those at least one a month for the foreseeable future, and you guys are gonna hear about them. Probably gonna post some reviews. And then the final one is my Star Wars staple for the month, and that'll be Tales from Jabbas Palace. I think this was on my TBR last month, but I didn't get done with the New Republic book, so I never got to this one, which is Jabbas Palace. I talked about it last month. It takes place between like episodes 4 and 6, somewhere around those lines. I think that, but it's a bunch of short stories, so that's the range that they're able to go through. I think a bunch of short Star Wars short stories, getting back into that universe, or the expanded universe, the old stuff, which is really nice. Yeah, and that's pretty much all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Remember to get some sleep, because rest is really important. And yeah, have a great day.